Hi, I'm just coming on about a minute just to kind of let people start hopping on. I don't know if I'll be able to see without my glasses. Mm, I can see a little bit. Okay. For those of you who are going to hop on and start talking about my dead channel and how nobody's watching, this isn't about numbers. This isn't about anything else but telling my story. And I'm doing good, Brian. Thank you for joining me. Am I saying your name right? Brian, right? Brian? Um, Good to see you too. Thanks for joining me today. I've been enjoying our conversations. Thank you. Um, So as I get started here, I have four people, three people, whoever's watching, welcome, thank you. I can't see you on my phone. If I were on my laptop, I'd be able to see who's on, who's not. If you wouldn't mind, if you want to just say hi in the chat section, I will be able to see it on the side over here for me. If you don't want to tell me who you are, that's fine too. I just want to put a disclaimer out there for anybody who wants to come on and start harassing me. Please ignore them. Try to block them if you are able to do so. Um, in the meantime, I am just going to get started and tell you about what's been happening. As the title says, I was in jail on the 4th of July. My husband and I, Jared, have put together a video series about what transpired the day of the 4th of July that led me to jail. I'm not going to get into too much detail about what led me to jail at this point. And I know some of you are going, oh man, I was really looking forward to the story. I am going to be posting the videos that Jared and I made this weekend, and we made them as a couple because I didn't want it to be like I was just telling my side of the story, because this did involve a so-called domestic violence incident, and it involved Jared, and I wanted Jared to be able to tell his story, his side of the story, along with mine, to show that we are a united front as a married couple and that a lot of good things came through. Hi, sweetie. That's okay. Thank you. I was just saying how we did the video together and that I felt it was fair that Jared was a part of that conversation and that video, because I wanted him to be able to really collaborate with me on this story, because it needs to be told. Jared is also going to be telling his own side of the story, because what we did is we told our story kind of like what led up to the situation, what happened on the 4th of July, and then we also decided that we were going to individually tell us from that point on, when I left in the cop car, Jared is going to tell his side of the story of what he went through that day and the next day. And then, hi, Karen. Hello. Hi, Lindsay. So afterwards, I'm telling my side of the story. When Jared will be able to tell his side of the story, I'm not entirely sure with his work schedule, but I really want him to get his story out as quickly as possible, because I'm doing this today. I feel it's important that Jared tells his side of the story too, because I really feel like this story needs to get out, not just my story, but also, okay, Jared says he's going to do it tomorrow. So, Jared says he's going to do his tomorrow. I don't know if he's going to do it live or if he's just going to, and he's talking about, so do I. He wants the story to get out as well. Because the situation was so crazy and silly and stupid and ridiculous. And what happened to us as a couple was terrifying. Really, it was. But we also told our story, and it's going to be chopped up into different sections. So I'm just kind of explaining to you right now, like, how this is all going to play out. But I'm telling you my side of the story from the moment that I left the house in handcuffs. And I want to tell you that because I want you to know what it's like to be in jail, because I've never been in jail and some of you have never been in jail. And my whole perception of going to jail was really quite terrifying, and a lot of bad things happen. And so I want to tell my story for a number of reasons, because I believe that the Kenosha County or the Kenosha Police Department did not handle my arrest very well. I feel like I was neglected and treated very inappropriately, considering, and that's kind of why I want to tell my story. But I also want to tell my story for those of you who may have been in jail, or my husband is the Lost Scrolls of Michael Fleming. So that is Jared who's talking. If you see that chat on there, that is my husband, Jared. So I want to tell this story because I feel it's really, really important that you understand what has happened. First of all, Jared and I have told our story together. Those will be posted, I'm hoping, tonight. I hope I can get those posted tonight for you. In the meantime, I do want you to know, because those aren't posted yet, that Jared and I are doing really well. In fact, better than well. We are so fantastic. And this situation has been a rude awakening for Jared. And he will tell his story tomorrow. So I don't want to tell his story because I think his story is really powerful, and the way that God moves and the way that God can use these terrible situations like being in jail for our good. And we know from Joseph's story that he was in prison for 2 years, and when he found his brothers and his brothers found him, they were very repentive, and Joseph said, had you not done this, I wouldn't have been able to save you. So with that, I don't think that what had happened, if it hadn't have happened, my husband and I wouldn't be together right now. The last words that were spoken to me by Jared were, this marriage is over. And I left going to jail with those words imprinted on my heart and in my spirit, and it was very hard for me. So I'm going to start from there. I also want to say something. I know my husband doesn't want me to really put a lot of the blame on his mom, and I want to respect that. But Jared, I hope that Jared will tell his story about his mom so that you could, thank you. We needed it, Karen. Thank you so much. And it worked. It really did work, Karen. Thank you. And restoration is exactly what happened. And so I don't want to come across and say that this was all Jared's mom's fault. It's so hard for me because I know if it hadn't been for her, none of this would have happened. So I can't put all the blame on her, because even the cop said, you know, this was all of your fault. And in order to, I don't know. I really don't know. The cop actually asked me, what do you want to do at this point? And I said, nothing really, because he said, well, otherwise your husband's going to go to jail. And I said, well, nothing. Then the cop actually threatened to take Tavin away for to juvenile because he was going to arrest all of us. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit before I actually was arrested and tell you the cop situation. He was a real jerk. He was not, and I want to say that his name is Officer Winters. I'm not entirely sure. I am not going to, honey, do I filter? No. So I believe that his name is Officer Winters. I don't know exactly for sure if that's his name, but I have had a couple of run-ins with him before. When Andy Bueller, our ex-landlord, actually harassed us, drove past our house and stopped in front of the house, I called the police and this cop came. And he was not very cooperative. He was kind of a, you know, Yeah, he's just an icky one of those cops, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a huge supporter of cops. Every time I see a police officer, I'm always thankful for them, and I always let them know how thankful I am for them. So please don't get me wrong, but I do believe that there are some cops that are on a power trip, and this guy's on a power trip, and he's a real jerk, and he has no compassion or sympathy for anyone, because he was also then called when I did my video about wanting to commit suicide, and nobody listened. Somebody heard that and called the police on me rather than listening to the whole video. And this officer came to my house and pretty much badgered me and belittled me for even thinking about it, and then made me feel like a bad mother and said, how could you do that to your son? So he did not come here with compassion in his heart. He did not come here to help me or to be kind to me. And that, he really left a bad taste in my mouth about, you know, dealing with the police at that point. He was the cop that showed up on the 4th of July. And the incident that led up to it had a lot to do with Jared's mom. Jared and I were having our own discussion about things going on. She had lied to me. Jared had lied to me. And as I said, I'm not saying anything that Jared has not already said in a previous video that we've done together, and that he's not probably going to tell you in his own video. So he's actually, I don't know if he's still watching or not, but he knows this. He knows he did wrong by lying to me, and that this could have been prevented too had he not lied to me. Now, anybody who knows me knows I am not one to be lied to. I am a truth seeker. I believe in the truth. I seek the truth. I will go at any great lengths to find the truth, especially if I feel like I'm being lied to. So what happened that day is another video with Jared and I. But in the meantime, what was happening with the cop is that Jared's mom was continually harassing me after Jared had already left, and I was on the phone with the dispatchers, with the police. I will show you those are my husband's fingerprint marks on my arms. He already knows, we've gone through this. Those are his fingerprints. And he pushed me. I slapped him. His mom got really involved, and the problem is that Jared's anger was more geared towards his mom, but he took it out on me. And I knew that's what was happening, but when he told me that the marriage was over, something inside of me snapped, and I hit him. And thinking about it, now for you 5 that are here watching, the 7 should have been still on, because this is the good part. I remember when I was in jail on the 5th, the morning of the 5th, I started laughing after I got out of the counselor's office, and I was like, damn. And I was thinking, man, because at this time, I don't know what's going on with Jared, okay? So I know nothing that's going on in the outside world. But I'm thinking, damn. I said it out loud. I said, damn. And in my head, I'm thinking, man, I went to jail for just slapping him across the face. I really wish I would have punched the crap out of him. I mean, seriously, I was like, if I'm in here for battery, which is what my charges were, then by golly, I really should have let him have it. And he knows this because I told him that. I thought it was funny because at the time, I did not know what's going on. So now, because I'm 15 minutes in it, and just so you know, this is a longer video because live on YouTube actually requires you to go a little bit longer, like 35 minutes plus. So, I know it's hysterical. Like, seriously, I was sitting in this room going, damn, like I said it out loud. There was another girl in there and she didn't ask me what, but I just started laughing. I went, damn. Like I'm thinking, man, I should have just punched him right in the head. Took, a couple pots and pans, and now I just hit my bad hand, and I'm going to get to that. This is where I'm going, and I'm glad I punched my hand because it led me to the whole story of my story of going to jail on the 4th of July. So Jared took off. Jared's mom was still in the house harassing me as I was on the phone with the police. Jared left. When the police came here, that is all on a different video, which I promise you I'm going to try to get out as soon as possible so you know what happened. Because I'm just telling you my side of the story once I had the handcuffs on. So Tavin had called Jared on Kids Messenger and said, please come home. And I said, look, they're going to take Tavin away if you don't come back here and you tell them what happened. And so he got mad at me and he said, why'd you have to call the cops? And he hung up on me and he came home. But he sat outside talking with the police, and I was upstairs with Tavin. And before I know it, I was called downstairs and the police officer asked me if I would please put my phone down. I know it was, well, he watched out the window. The cop actually wouldn't let Tavin come down and say goodbye to me, which was horrible. I really wanted to hold him and hug him because I didn't know what was going to happen to me. He also told Tavin that I would be home by the end of the day. Am I blurry? Because I'm like, okay, there. My phone is really goofy, so I'm sorry if I go blurry. I just can't move. Okay, so when I came downstairs, he said, Tristine Fleming, I'm putting you under arrest for battery. And I was like, what are you talking about? He said, you can't go around hitting people. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you slapped your husband and there's marks on him. I'm like, marks on him? I slapped him across the face. I mean, seriously, I slapped him. And how can you have marks from a slap on your face? I don't know, unless I slapped him that hard and there were like fingerprint marks, but I know I didn't hit him that hard. So I was really confused and I didn't know what was going on. And he told me to put my phone down and to put my hands behind my back. He pulled the handcuffs out and the handcuffs were behind my back and very, very tight. And I kept telling him, please, you have to get these handcuffs off of me. I have peripheral neuropathy. My hands were, I have no feeling on the top of my hand anymore. Thank you, Kenosha Police Department. You have completely made my neuropathy worse. And I really feel like suing the pants off of them because when I came out of the house, Jared was standing by the police car that the officer was taking me to. My hands were behind my back. My circulation was being cut off from my hands. And I kept telling him that. And the officer wouldn't listen to me. He then put me into a very, very, very hot car. I am talking, it was stifling hot in there. And I am menopausal, but I also suffer from really bad anxiety. And if any of you know, I'm trying to get focused. I don't know. Sorry if I'm blurry, but I tried really hard to get this officer to roll down the window for me because it was really hot. And with my anxiety, I also, heat and my neuropathy are two key factors that will trigger a panic attack for me. And now I was in this very high stress situation with my hands behind my back, the circulation being cut off. They were so tight on me that I literally had marks, and I have proof. I have numerous witnesses at the police department that saw the marks but refused to take pictures of it even though I asked because my hands went completely numb, and this one still is, my left hand on the top. I have like no feeling on the top of my hand anymore. And so yeah, I was also starting to have a really bad panic attack because it was so hot in the car. The cop car is all black seats. It was a really, really hot day. There was no breeze coming in. I asked the police officer, please roll down the window. I could not breathe. I was starting to hyperventilate. When I go into a panic attack, my legs start shaking up and down. They start going up and down. And I start kind of trembling really bad. And I can't breathe. I'll start hyperventilating. And being told to calm down, I think I've said this on a video before, the last thing you ever want to tell somebody having a panic attack is calm down and take deep breaths. Those are the last things that will help a panic attack. They actually make it worse. So anyway, I'm driving off now. And as I'm being taken to the car, Jared says to me, "I'm really sorry, sweetie." And I said, "No, you're not. This is what you've wanted for a long time." And when I got in the car, I started complaining about the heat and how I couldn't breathe and how tight the handcuffs were on me. But then when I finally pulled off, I saw Jared standing at the end of our driveway now, talking with the police officer, and he just looked like really nonchalant, and I was so mad, and I screamed, "You did this. You did all of this." And I said, "This is what you've wanted all along," and I'm yelling out this little crack of the window like, "You did this!" Because that was as much air as the officer was going to let me have. And so I kept telling him I was having a panic attack. Please roll down the window. It was this much. He rolled it down that much. I kept telling him I'm having a panic attack. Please loosen up these handcuffs. They're tightening. He kept saying, "You're sitting on them wrong." I'm like, how am I supposed to sit? You know, the circulation is off. I'm like having a panic attack. I'm trying to breathe out the window. I'm like seriously putting my nose out the window so I could breathe. I swear to you on my life. And I was begging the police officer to please loosen my handcuffs because they were so tight. And he was ignoring me. And I finally looked at the camera that they had in the car, and I looked right in it, and I said, "I hope this is being recorded because I am asking for help and I am being refused help." And so he made sure to move the camera right on me while he ignored me completely. And through the whole time I was crying and having a panic attack, and I was complaining because the handcuffs were so tight. By this point, if you know anything about really severe panic attacks, they actually will paralyze you. Like, you can't move. Jared knows this about me. I can't move my legs. Like, he'll have to carry me or drag me across the floor. That is not a joke. And lots of times I have to lay on the bathroom floor or something, like a floor that's really, really cold. Okay, so as the cop pulls into the police station at this point, we pull into a very large garage. And at this point, I think before this, I was really out of it. I didn't know where I was because I was hyperventilating so bad. The next thing I remember at this point is him telling me to get out of the car. And I can't move because I'm having a panic attack and my legs won't move. Seriously, my legs just don't move. And so I kept saying, "I can't move my legs. I can't move my legs." And he said, "You're going to have to move your legs." I'm going, "You don't understand." And I'm crying. I'm like, "You don't understand. I'm having a panic attack. I can't move." And he says, "Well, I'm not going to carry you, so you need to get out of this car right now." And I'm like, "Please help me." He says, "I'm not going to help you." And I'm begging him to just pull my leg out of the car. He wouldn't do it. And he grabbed me by the arm, and he's like, "The only thing I can do is assist you, but I'm not going to carry you or anything." So I was in a really bad way, and I was freaking out. And, you know, he's like helping me as I'm my feet are dragging across the floor because I can't move my feet because I'm having a panic attack. I'm shaking like crazy. My hands were completely numb. And when he got me in to book me, this is where everything gets really fun. He got me in to book me. The first thing that he said when he walked in is he said, "I need medical attention." I will tell you right now, I never did receive medical attention. I was also, because I had been hyperventilating, I was very, very thirsty. And the first thing I asked for was a glass of water. I was refused. I said, "Listen, I'm having a panic attack. I'm hyperventilating. Please give me water." Nope. They stood me in front of this big, tall metal desk. And I don't remember anybody's faces because I was really kind of like not with it. I just knew what was happening to me, and I could hear the voices around me, and I didn't look at faces, or maybe I did and I just didn't pay attention. I don't know. They told me to put my hands up on the table, and I did, and then they asked me to spread my legs, which I couldn't do because my legs were pretty much frozen from having this panic attack. They were also making fun of me trying to come into the station because I couldn't move, and the stupid police officer said something to the sort of, "Did you see all that?" And they were like, "Yeah, we were watching." And they were laughing, and they said, "Yeah, we were watching it on the camera." So they were like, "Yeah, we saw everything, so don't worry about it. You're good," is basically what they said. I don't know if it was because of what I did or what he had to hold me up if I would come back and like sue him for sexual harassment or whatever. That's not what I would sue him for. I would sue him for not listening to me and getting me the medical attention that he needed at that time, and for releasing my handcuffs a little bit so that my hands wouldn't go numb. When he took the handcuffs off, I had 3 huge lines in my hand. My hand was completely swollen. It was like a baseball mitt. It was so swollen that you could see the indents of the handcuffs on that hand, and then there was one on this hand, and the top of this one is a little tingly. It's not numb, but you could see there was a line there as well. Those lines didn't go away until the very next day. I swear to you, that's how bad the handcuffs were and how swollen my hands were from the way that he put the handcuffs on. At this point, they asked me to spread my feet. I said, I can't. And they said, is this your first time? No, they said, have you been here before? And the cop said, no, she's never been in trouble before. And I heard one of the ladies say, well, she's going to learn real fast. And my leg was kicked apart. And I started crying, and I started panicking a little bit more because I really felt like I was getting more abuse at the police department than I was in the situation in which I called for. I was hurt more at the police department and by the hands by the Kenosha police than I was by my husband with these 2 bruises. These bruises will go away, but the feeling of my hand will never come back. And I know that. So yeah, I got more abuse by the Kenosha police than I did at the hands of the domestic violence supposedly that happened in our home, which I don't believe really that's what it was. And that's a different story that I'll talk about some other time. So at this point, I'm begging for water, begging for water. They're refusing me and treating me like a dog. Worse than a dog. At least a dog would get water. But they said, you can go in this room and there's a water fountain in the back. The minute I got in there, they shut me in there. They locked me in a hole by myself for about 45 minutes. And I laid on the floor convulsing in panic attacks and screaming for medical attention and help. And nobody came. And then I asked for somebody to come please take pictures of my hands, and they refused because these marks were so bad and my hand was so swollen and it was so awful that I needed proof. I needed someone to take pictures of what this officer had done to me and how he had refused help. Excuse me, I'm going to take a drink real quick. Sorry. I was laying on this filthy floor because it was cold. I was hyperventilating. I was having rolling panic attacks. They just kept coming, and it wouldn't stop. And at one point, because Jared wasn't there, and Jared's the only one who could get me out. Sometimes I can say stop, stop, stop to myself so that my legs will stop shaking. And I was convulsing on the floor, and there was quite literally, I'm not even kidding, there was a puddle of my tears on the floor. And I just wanted the panic to stop. So I started pounding my head on the concrete floor to try to get my body to stop convulsing so that I could focus on the pain on my head rather than what was happening, because I'd rather have a headache than a panic attack. Because a panic attack feels like you're dying. A panic attack feels like you're having a heart attack. It feels like the end of the world. It feels like it's never going to stop. And I kept telling myself this will be over in a few minutes. But the problem is that once I started coming down from my panic attack, and I would start to like relax on the floor in the pool of my tears on this dirty, grungy hole of a floor, I started realizing where I was, and the panic would start coming in again. So I had probably about 6 or 7 panic attacks while I was in the holding tank cell, whatever they call it. In the meantime, I had been screaming multiple times for medical assistance, and no one came to help me. At one point, a different police officer came, a black gentleman who was really, really nice and very kind, and he asked me, what kind of medication do you take for your panic attacks? And I told him, and I really thought that I was going to get medicine, and I didn't. At this point, that cop came back later and said, well, at that point, I was so thirsty. I had been in there for about 40 minutes at this point. I was so thirsty that I climbed to this very disgusting hole in the wall where water was supposed to come out, and it just would trickle out. So I had to put my face by the toilet to get water. And I just started splashing it on my face and taking it in my hand, and so that I wouldn't get my face so close to the germs and everything, even though I know I had been laying in this disgusting floor. But I was so thirsty, I didn't care. And there was a toilet right there, and then there was this small concrete wall that probably came up to about here on me, and it just kind of went out this far, and then the rest of the area was open, and then there was a concrete bench in front of that. I hid in the corner of the block and the wall. So I was like right in this corner where the sink was, and I started saying the Lord's Prayer over and over again, because I couldn't breathe, and I knew that if I needed to get up again, at least I was propped up against the wall and I could at least reach up to the sink and pull myself up, because there was nowhere else for me to try to get up. So I started saying the Lord's Prayer over and over again, and just kept praying and believing that God was going to take care of me. And I really wanted to say Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, and I couldn't remember it. It was terrifying, and I was like, Lord, this is awful. I can't remember your word. I couldn't even remember in the beginning God created. I didn't know what God created. I was so like, I couldn't remember anything, and that scared me too, not knowing the word of God to really carry into and speak into my life as I'm in this horrible situation. And so I just kept saying the Lord's Prayer over and over. And then that same cop came back and said, Miss Fleming, where are you? I said, I'm in the corner here. And he says, why are you in the corner? And I said, well, I'm having a panic attack. And I said, and the only way I can actually get up is if I pull myself up. My legs won't support me and I will fall. So I need to be somewhere where I can pull myself up. He said, you have to come out from there. And he says, please just lay on this bench and get comfortable as much as you can. He was really, really nice. This cop was amazing. I'm so grateful to him. At this point now, it was 45 minutes and he was really nice and he came back and he said, well, a cop before him, this white cop came in and he was really nasty and he said, you know, you need to knock it off because the sooner you knock it off, the sooner you can get booked and get out of here. But I couldn't. I mean, to tell somebody to just knock it off when they're having a panic attack, God, please, anybody who knows what panic attacks are like, you can't just tell somebody, knock it off. And so it was really frustrating to me because they weren't taking me seriously. They weren't listening to me. They thought I was pretending or whatever. I don't know what they thought. But they thought I was just, you know, throwing a fit, and that's not what I was doing. I was really having these panic attacks, and so I finally was able to get out of that corner, and I continued to lay on the floor, and I started to just, I think the prayers and speaking God's word really calmed me down a lot, because I started feeling a little bit of relief at that point. And I finally got on the bench and sat in the corner, and I was crying still, but I wasn't, and you know, whenever I felt that panic come on, I would just start praying and doing the Lord's Prayer. And finally, they came in and got me and booked me. And the whole time I was being booked, I had to talk to this woman behind this glass with a little hole, and the cops behind me were laughing and talking really loud, and I kept saying, I'm sorry, I can't hear you, I'm really sorry. And she finally told them to shut up, and she was serious. You know, she's like, shut up. I can't do my job if you're back there goofing around. And so they were quiet. I asked for water. I was very, very fortunate. I mean, it was like a debate. Seriously, I was like, I need a glass of water. And one of the cops said, there was water in there. Why didn't you get water when you were in there? I said, I did. I'm still thirsty. I need water. And there were like 4 cops behind me, and they were all like, I don't know. Do you want to give her water? Should we give her water? I don't know. Should we give her water? And they're like, I don't care. You want to give her water? I don't care. I mean, really, this is what's going on, and I'm hyperventilating, and I'm like so thirsty, I'm like dying. Now, keep in mind, I also hadn't eaten until from the day before, Tuesday, at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon at Six Flags with Ann. So I hadn't eaten. I really didn't have anything to drink because I had 1 drink that day, and Jared punched it across the room, which I'm going to have a drink right now. Because talking about being thirsty just makes me thirsty. And how they treated me. I'm telling you, a dog would have been treated better than that. Seriously. So they finally booked me. They then put me back in the holding cell, and then brought a lady cop came in and said, come with me, you need to get dressed. I was like, oh my gosh. So I was getting a jail uniform, and she was really nice. She didn't watch me, but they did pat me down when I got in, and went in between my crotch and underneath my breasts and everything, and that was really humiliating for me. But when she took me in to change my clothes, she did put a curtain around, and when I finally had the jail clothes on, I came out, and she said to me very nicely, you need to calm down. It'll go so much better for you if you just calm down. I said, I'm having panic attacks. I don't know what to do. And she's like, I understand, but I'm telling you, please, for your own sake, you have got to stop. She's like, I'm just telling you, I'm trying to help you. You'll only make it worse if you keep this going. And I'm like, and I started crying again. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to stop this. And I said, my husband's the only one who can help me. At this point, they escorted me to another room. This was the worst experience of my life. They wrapped a belt around me very tightly, and I asked them, please don't put it around me too tight, because I was having panic attacks, and even just having a bra on with a panic attack makes me feel like I'm losing my mind. So he said, okay. He was really nice. He put it on gently, but the belt was... And as this was going on, I was just thinking, I can't believe this is happening to me. I'm chained to a wall. I'm handcuffed to a wall. I had this much room to move. I couldn't get up. I couldn't stand up. My body was aching at that point from all the panic attacks I had had. I still had not received any medical attention. And that's when a counselor came in. She was wonderful, very helpful. She asked me a lot of questions, psychological questions, and she gave me a list of things, you know, to consider once I got out, because I didn't know what was going to happen to me when I got out. I told her that I had been very dependent on my husband for 9 years, and what was I going to do? I have nowhere to go. I have no money. I have no job. And I said, now I've got this charge against me, because they had taken my mugshot and my fingerprints at this point, and I felt like the lowest of the low. And I felt like this is going to affect me for the rest of my life. I'm going to have a record of battery. And all I did was slap my husband's face. Like, seriously, like, this could haunt me for the rest of my life. And when I told her that, she said, this is a misdemeanor. You know, it's not going to go on your record. You'll be able to get a job. You'll be able to get a house. It won't be on your background check. And I was like, that was kind of a relief for me, because that's kind of the things that were throwing me into a panic attack. Like, what is this going to do to me as a homeschooling mom? What is this going to do to me when I get out of here and I try to find an apartment and they do a background check? What am I going to do if I have to get a job and they run a background check and they see that I've been arrested for battery? Like, battery. Like, how do you explain that to somebody? I slapped my husband's face, and it sounds like I, like, beat the crap out of someone. It's terrible. Like, can't they just have a charge? Slapped husband in face? That would be a much better charge. Because somebody would understand that and go, I get that, girlfriend. I'm hiring you. You know, but instead, battery makes it sound like I'm out just beating the crap out of everybody. Anyway, so she really helped me kind of get past my panic attack. I had told her that she also verified the marks on my hand. The woman who booked me also verified, but nobody would take a picture of it. I was told that they were not allowed to do that. So, but I did ask the counselor, but you do see these marks, right? She says, I do. So I do have proof from 2 people, the woman who booked me and the woman counselor, that they did see those marks. And this, at this point, was at just about 6 o'clock at night. I was taken in at 1 o'clock, I believe. So this is 5 hours later. I still had the marks on my hands, and my hand was swollen. She actually saw that my hands are still swollen now. They're never going to go down now, because I have no feeling on the top here. All my nerves are completely gone now. But they were so swollen that I couldn't even bend. Look at how swollen my hand is now. That'll never go away. I told her that I had not received medical assistance. I had not eaten. I was hungry. I was thirsty. So I was given food. Well, if that's what you want to call it, I was given food. I was given a bag of a sandwich It looked pretty good. I was hungry, looked pretty good. I was given an apple and a small bag of carrots. I took a couple bites of the apple because it was juicy and I was thirsty. I got a thing of milk and I love my milk, so I was able to drink that. But I took a bite of the carrot. It was really gross. I went to go take a bite out of that sandwich. The meat was so spoiled that just the smell made me want to gag, and I took a bite anyway. The bread was hard. The cheese was like, I can't even explain what the cheese looked like, but I took one bite. It was in my mouth. I literally threw it up right then and there. I threw it up right on the bag. And no sooner had I thrown that up, I took another bite of the apple thinking maybe I could keep that down, but I spit that out right away because I was gagging on that. And I took another drink of my milk, and right as I did that, another police officer came in and said, "Come with me." I said, "Well, what about my food?" I had a whole bunch of paperwork from the counselor that had crossword puzzles and word searches and all my information of where to go, once I got out. And that was the other thing she told me to focus on, that I was going home the next day. She kept saying, "You'll go home." She kind of told me, the counselor, and I'm sorry that I breezed over that. The counselor was amazing because she told me what was going to happen. She told me where I was going to go, what was going to happen, what was going to happen the next day. I was going to have to go to court at 1 o'clock. She told me that I was going into a cell block of women with bunk beds in it. Ha! Bunk beds. That's a good one. Bunk beds would have been nice. And I asked, "Are these women going to hurt me? Is someone going to come after me? What do I need to expect?" She goes, "No. And she says a guard comes in every half hour to check on you as well." So, that kind of put my mind at ease. And she kept saying, "Just remember, you're going home tomorrow." Okay, that's great. But I'm going to tell you something right now. From that moment on, time felt like it just stopped. Because I remember looking at the clock. It was outside in the hall. It was 5 to 6 at that point. I told her that I hadn't seen a medical doctor or any medical assistants. I was eating at that time. And so at that point, when they came back while I was eating, they took me to go see a medical doctor who basically said I was fine. But then again, he didn't look at me. He took my pulse and that was it. He said, "Do you have high blood pressure?" I said, "Yes, I did at one point. Are you taking medication?" I said, "No." And he took my blood pressure and he says, "You're fine." And I was out of there like that. So, had they have gotten me the medical assistance I needed when I came in, the story would have been completely different, seriously. But I had already seen the counselor. She had calmed me down quite a bit. So there really was no need for me to see a medical doctor at that point because I was calmed down and I wasn't having any anxiety again. Then they took me upstairs to the cell block, and you have to walk down this hall. You have to go up down this hallway, and you have to follow a line. There's like a red line against the wall, and you have to stay in between that red line. And then they stopped, and they stopped me at like a closet, a big closet, and gave me like 3 shirts, three sports bras, 2 sheets, and a very rough wool blanket. And they rolled it up and handed it to me, and it was really, really heavy. And he told me move. They don't they don't guide you where you're going. They like walk behind you and you're like just walking blindly. And I was just kind of walking blindly. I had no idea where I was going. There were a whole bunch of male inmates that were there that had been doing laundry or something, and they had to stop to let me go by. They kind of harassed me a little bit as I went by. Then I was taken into the cell block. It's just a big empty concrete room with a bunch of metal. I don't want to say cots because they're not cots. They're just pieces of metal bolted to the floor, and that was my bed. I didn't even get a pillow. I had to sleep on metal. The bathrooms were wide open. There was no privacy. You had to go to the bathroom in front of all the other women. There was another room. So when I walked in, I was scared. I was crying, and people were asking me my name and asking me what was, what I was in for. Had I ever been in jail before? And when I said no, everybody was like, oh, you'll be out of here tomorrow. Don't worry about it. You're good. And these women, I want to give back to them. They made me feel welcome, if that's the right word to use. They made me feel comfortable. They made me feel at ease. I wasn't scared. I mean, I was scared. Don't get me wrong. I was very scared. But they were really good women. Really good women. However, listening to their stories for, 12 hours was really, really rough. Because there was a lot of swearing. There was a lot of stories of drugs and sex and a lot of things that I don't, want to hear. A lot of swearing, a lot of burping, a lot of farting, a lot of just disgusting behaviors by women. And I was really kind of thrown off by that. Like, I just didn't understand, like, why are you acting like this? But, they're all, like, they all know each other. There were a few women, like, when I walked in, it was probably, like, 6:15. There were quite a few people in bed sleeping. There were a lot of women reading in bed. And then I was told that there was a library. Yeah. In the day room where everybody was playing games and whatever. And the day room was, just a bunch of bolted metal chairs and table in the room, middle of this concrete block room. The library was a box of about 15 books. So I went to go look for a book, and I didn't have my glasses, so I couldn't really read, which was really upsetting. I went to go sit at one of the tables, and I was by myself, and another girl came up to me and said, hey, can we sit at your table? We're going to play Scrabble. Do you mind? And I said, no, that's fine. And they all had sodas and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I was so thirsty. I still had not had anything to drink or eat at this point. So I said, where are you guys getting the drinks? And they said from commissary, which means that they have to actually buy it. Well, I didn't have any money. I had nothing. I didn't even have my phone, so I wasn't able to even make a phone call because I knew nobody's phone number. Note to self and to everyone watching this, memorize those numbers on your phone because you never know when you're going to need them when you don't have your phone. I swear to God, it was the worst experience ever not knowing anybody's phone number because I couldn't call anybody. So they sat down, another couple girls sat down then to play Scrabble, and they asked me if I wanted to play, and I said sure. And I just started playing Scrabble with these girls, and I asked them what they were in for. They shared their stories with me, and they're not like, you know, liars, like I didn't do it. I mean, they flat out like, I did this and I did that and I did this, and like, you know, there are some people that should not be in there, period. You know, and those stories really hurt me. Those stories I would find myself crying over because I felt so bad for these women. Because I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, what are you in here for? That's dumb. And then there were just women in there that belonged in there and should have been in there, and they knew it. And that, you know, they didn't deny that they were in the right place or whatever, and what they did wrong, they never denied any of it. Then they were going to start this spades game, and I think they were betting commissary items, and at that point I decided to go back into the room with all the metal beds. And I laid there trying to read, and I couldn't read. And of course, keep in mind, this is the 4th of July now, and everybody's talking about the fireworks. And the way that the dorm was faced, we were facing Lake Michigan, and there were windows in there. But let me tell you about the windows. The windows were block ice windows. Then you had bars behind that. Then you had a mesh metal screen in front of that. So in order to look out, you had to like try to like really see through tiny little holes and through that. But everybody was talking about the fireworks and how they were going to start at 9:30. And at this point, my God, it felt like I had been there, you know, for 6-7 hours. I was like, what do you mean it's not 9:30 yet? Like, that was starting to make me get panicky again, and my legs started shaking because I was like, it's not even 9:30. How am I going to get through this night? I don't have my medication. I was told I wouldn't get my medication. So I was like really starting to panic at this point. Now, there was a black girl in there who slept kitty corner from me. Well, I should say kitty corner if you're looking at me that way. I love her. I wish I could remember her name. She was my saving grace. She was, man, I'm grateful for her. She has a 3-month-old child, and all she kept talking about was how she was going to be on her best behavior because she wanted to go home to her baby. That's all she kept saying is, I want to go home to my baby. I want to see my baby. And when the fireworks did start, everyone kind of ran to the windows and tried to watch. But there were some of us who just laid in bed and said, I don't want to watch this. If I can't be with my family, I don't want to be there. I don't want to see this. And I was one of them, and I started crying. And the black girl, God, I wish I could remember her name. I really wish I could remember her name. She said, oh, don't cry, because you're going to make me start crying, because I'm going to miss my baby, and I know you're missing your baby. And I just couldn't stop crying. And then one lady started yelling at me, and she's like, you know, you're going home tomorrow. The rest of us are in here. You know, at least you're going home tomorrow. And then it kind of got to a thing that the girls were fighting over my situation. Like, they're going, she's going home tomorrow, so what's she crying about? You know, and everybody, so the other half are going, she's never been in trouble before, you guys. Leave her alone. And then one lady says, well, maybe next time you'll learn not to slap your husband. And another one goes, amen to that. And she said, maybe next time you'll learn to keep your hands to yourself. And at this point, I just kind of shut my mouth, and the other girls were saying she didn't do anything wrong, and she didn't do half the stuff that any of us have done, and she's in here, she doesn't even belong in here. And in the meantime, people are saying your husband's probably bailing you out right now as we speak. And that's kind of where I'm going to get to now. And I know it took me an hour to get here, but, because that was my experience of what happened. But what I felt was like a million times worse. I had no idea what was going on the outside world. I had no idea what time it was anymore because there was not a clock in the dorm, in the cell. I had no idea what was happening with Jared. The last words he said to me was, the marriage is over, and I saw him standing there nonchalantly in my eyes with the police. So I felt the marriage was over. I hadn't heard from Anne, so I didn't know what was going on with her. I had no idea where Tavin was, so I was really scared about Tavin. I kept thinking, what's going to happen to me after I get out of here? Where am I going to go? Because I was told that I could not go home. I was told I, could not have any contact with Jared. And so, sorry. And so it just, I was really lost. Like, really lost. Like, I had no idea what to expect when I walked out of those doors. I had no idea what was going to happen to me. And so those were the thoughts that kept flooding through my mind, that there's nothing for me after this. I don't know where Tavin is. I don't know where, what my marriage is going to look like. And it's over to Jared. And, so those were the thoughts that just kept going through my mind, a feeling of abandonment. Because everybody kept telling me, you're going to be bailed out. You're going to be bailed out. Somebody's going to bail you out. Because my bail was only like $500. And that's what everybody kept saying. Your bond's only $500. Why isn't anybody bailing you out? So when people are saying that, I'm just going, why isn't anybody bailing me out? They've got to know I'm having panic attacks in here. They've got to know that I'm not doing well in here. And so that was really hurting me. Like, I was just frantic. Like, why? I felt so abandoned and so alone and so miserable. And so finally at 10 o'clock, the lights go out and I cried myself. I didn't cry myself to sleep. The only way I kept time is by the guards. The guards come in every half hour to make their rounds through the cell, through the dorm. And that's how I was keeping track of time. Because in my mind, I knew the lights went out at 10. I knew when he came in. And so I kept telling time by every time he came in. Every half hour. And I was probably up for about 5 of his rounds. And I finally fell asleep. And then I was jabbed in the middle of the night and told that I was snoring like a MF. And at that point, then I was scared to go back to sleep because they were all yelling at me for snoring. The 3 girls next to me, they were really upset with me. But the black girl who was kitty corner for me, she just kept looking at me with these sad eyes, and she was just amazing. Beautiful woman. The lights were then turned on at 6 o'clock in the morning. 7 o'clock, you get breakfast. Breakfast was ridiculous. Breakfast is not breakfast. It was 2 gross, disgusting, soggy, nasty sugar donuts. A container of cornflakes that tasted like cardboard, an apple juice, and a milk. At that point, I couldn't eat again. I hadn't had dinner. I still hadn't eaten now at this point. Now I was going on almost 48 hours of not eating. And one of the girls, the girl who was sleeping next to me, I want to say her name was Joy. She had been in prison twice and been in and out of the Kenosha County Jail for 15 times. 15 times, 8 times, 12 times, 5 times. This is what I was hearing over and over and over again, and it was killing me. Like, why would anybody want to come back here? Like, seriously, that's what I was thinking. And they're all laughing and they're all joking around. And at one point, the night before, they were taking hand lotion, putting it on their finger, and sticking it all the way up into their nose, into their sinuses, and snorting it. Like, I was like, what the heck are you girls doing? And then they'd go in the bathroom and do it or whatever. I don't know what else they were doing. There were some girls that were taking potato chip bags and filling them up with water. I don't know. They could be making alcohol, because I kind of do know a little bit about how they can ferment things like ketchup and things. Ah, sorry, I lost you. So anyway, I don't know what's going on here. Okay. Apparently I didn't get a lot of your comments. I'm sorry. Yeah, I missed a lot of your comments. Your comments weren't popping up. So I'm really sorry for that. I hope some of you are still there. I'm just about done. Because I just want to finish up that the girls were really nice that I was next to. There was a woman next to me. So the next morning, I'll go to the next morning after breakfast, which I didn't eat. Somebody took my donuts, said, do you want these? Are you going to eat them? I said no, and they took them, and that was fine because I didn't want them because they were so nasty. I took a tiny bite off it and just about threw up again. So at that point, I just drank my milk, and then I was called to go talk to the counselor, and I was told I was going to see the public defender. So at that point, there were 3 of us called. We were patted down in the hallway. They take you by the inside of your waist, and they go inside your pants. They go under your breast. They go in between your legs. It's constant. Like, every time you move, they have to pat you down. So I went with that black girl and another girl who was in a hit and run accident, and we were all lined up in booths, like glass booths. There was probably like maybe 6 or 7 of them, and you could just see right through them. And the counselor that I had seen the night before, she was there to talk to all of us. I was the last one that she talked to out of the girls that were taken down there. And she was very helpful again and very nice. And I told her that I really appreciated all that she did, not just for me, but for the other women, because they really needed people to talk to. And I told her that I'm a highly sensitive person, and being in the dorm was really hard for me because I could feel women, I could feel their pain, and it was weighing me down because I had my own pain that I was carrying. So God was really blessing me. Thank you very much. Now we're under a different name. That's fine. I don't care. Okay, so what was happening? I really have to try to ignore the harassment that's going on right now. Karen, are you on there? So at this point now, what was happening is I got called down to, I'm getting notifications up on top too, so I'm sorry, a friend of mine, so bear with me. I have such very good friends on Instagram. I'm really glad for that. Anyway, so after I got done talking to the public defender, I was then brought back to the cell, and the other 2 girls were already back there that I had went originally down in my cell with, and they had already been back. And when I got back, I was feeling a little bit more confident. I was feeling, just because I knew that the day was going, so it felt like the day was just taking forever to go on. And at that point, I had to like really tell myself I had to get through these next few hours. I was told I'd be, that someone would come to get me about 12:45 to go to court. And no sooner had I got back to the cell, the woman guard came in and said, "Pack up." And I said, "What do you mean? What did you say?" She said, "Pack up." And there was another woman on the other side of me who got this big smile on my face. And I said, "What does she mean?" And she said, "Pack your stuff up. You're going home." I said, "What?" She says, and she got this big smile on her face and she's like, "You're going home." And I was so utterly relieved. She came over to me and she helped me roll up all my stuff and helped me put everything together to pack my stuff up. And I'm really grateful for this woman. Her smile was as if she was being released. And it was so beautiful to have these women, these amazing women that were there for me and blessing me and loving me through this process. And I said, "What do I do?" And she's like, "These guards, they don't understand that, not everybody's been in here 100 times, and I just thought that was kind of cute. And she helped me roll up my stuff, and then the guard came back and said, actually the door opened. My bunk was right in front of the door, where the guards came in and out. I was like this far away from the door, and the door opened and a gentleman came in and said, "Tristine Fleming." And I said, "That's me." He's like, "Well, you can go home unless you want to stay." I'm like, "No, I'm out of here." And I don't even remember saying goodbye to anybody, because the girls that were on the other side of me that I was kind of getting to know, they were in the day room, and I wasn't about to go, "Hey, let me go say goodbye to my pals." No, man, I was like out of there. So then they discharged me, and then the guy was really nice. I asked for water again because I was so thirsty. I did get water. They discharged me, and I asked them, I'm like, "What's going on? Did somebody set bail? How come I am not going to court?" And he told me that the DA did not find enough evidence to prosecute me. So I didn't even have to go to court. Praise Jesus. God is so good because God did take care of me. I put all my trust in him, and God was amazing. And so as the guard walked me out, he said, "Now, on the other side of this door, you won't be able to get back in, and I hope that you don't come back." And I said, "I am not coming back." And I said, "I don't understand why anybody would want to come back." I said, "I'm listening to these women 15, 20 times. And he said, 84 is the highest. I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, we've got to count. 84 is the highest as how many times somebody has come back. We're at 84. And that was horrifying to me, and I felt really, really sad. So I left. I walked out in my pajamas that I was in on the 4th of July and my flip-flops, which really hurt. And I walked 3 miles home. I was really afraid because I didn't know what to expect. I was told I couldn't have contact with Jared. I was just like one of those things. I am getting there, Karen, let me tell you, because I really want to share this with you, Karen, because I think I do want to do prison ministry, but not like what Sandy's doing. So, because I want to tell you a little bit about that. And I'll talk to you about it now since you brought it up. The girls in there, they want to feel beautiful. They are beautiful. A lot of them are really beautiful girls. And one girl, she kept going into the bathroom and doing her hair, and she'd come out and she'd go, "What do you think of this? What do you think of my hair this way?" And one girl was braiding her hair the entire time. She goes, "I'm going to crimp my hair." And, so they want to feel beautiful. And you know how I am about my makeup. And so Jared and I are talking about me starting a makeup ministry to where I can go in and bless these women so that they can feel good about themselves and they can be pretty because they truly deserve to feel beautiful, even if it's just sitting around. And I've known that. I've been getting ready every day and it makes me feel better about me. It makes me feel good. I feel better. I carry myself differently. And I really want to do right. It would be such a blessing. And I just really want to help these women who are in and out of trouble and they really want to. Oh, Lindsay. Yeah, and that's how I feel. I really feel like the Lord kind of set this up for me. Like, I couldn't understand why I was there. But I kept trusting God. I kept saying, I trust you, Lord. I'm here. I don't know what I'm here for. I don't know why I'm here. I don't get it. My marriage is falling apart at one point. I was crying and everyone was like, why are you crying again? And I had said, this just isn't about me and being here. It's about what happened to my marriage. And I had said, my marriage is over. I'm married to the most wonderful, amazing man I ever met in my life. He was a gentleman. He was loving and kind and thoughtful. I said, and now all of a sudden, he's just this jerk that I don't know anymore. And my marriage is over. So I'm like, I don't know. This is hard. It's not just about me sitting here in jail. It's about my marriage. And so I just really, I just had this very strong and that I needed to help these women and show them love. And I really want to give back to them. I'm going to be writing them a letter and letting them know what happened to me because I just left without telling anybody. And I want them to know how much I appreciated them getting me through that night. And I really want them to understand that they helped me get through a very difficult time in my life and that they are important and that they are worthwhile and that there are people on the outside that are thinking of them, because when you're in there, you really feel like no one cares on the other side. Because you don't know what's going on the other side of the world, and you feel so alone and you feel like you don't really know what's happening on the outside because you're in this one place and the rest of the world is going on without you and you don't really know where you stand. I didn't know what was happening with Jared. I didn't know what was happening with Anne. I didn't know what was happening with Tavin. And so I really feel like these women need to know that someone is on the other side loving them and caring for them and praying for them. And I haven't stopped praying for these women since I left. My heart is really going out to them. And I just want to say to those of you who are leaving these comments, thank you. You're actually building up my channel and my time. So thank you for all your nasty comments. You're just really blessing me with all your Satan comments. You're actually blessing me because the more comments that you make, the more activity you're putting on my channel. And the longer you stay on my channel, God bless you. Thank you. You're blessing my numbers, my analytics. So thank you for coming and, and commenting and, whether I agree with what you say or not. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, all of you, for being here and blessing me. Even though that you're talking about Satan and all this stuff about Jesus, you're blessing me. So thank you. I just want to thank you for that. So for those of you who are here to harass me, you're actually just giving me blessing. So thank you very much. I just want to say that because it just really made me think about how I can look at my life so differently now. That while you sit here and harass me, it's actually for my benefit. You're not hurting me. You're really blessing my channel right now. You're showing my numbers. You're showing YouTube that you're on here for quite a long time while I'm on live. You're commenting. And I'm going to report you again. So that's good. And if I spend the next half hour reporting you, that's good. I'm all right with that. So thank you. I just want to thank all of you. So good. You're the one who's on here. I'm getting the views by you, dumbass. So good for you. Thank you. Anyway, for those of you who are here to continue on with this story, I just wanted to thank these people for blessing my channel because that's what they're doing, right? They're here. They're staying on for a long period of time. That's really helping my channel and my analytics. So, you know, whatever. They can do that forever. You better shut the hell up. You say one more thing about my son, I swear to God, you are going to really regret it. I just got out of jail. I have no fear. So there you go. All right. So those of you who are here and watching these really nice people that love to harass me, they have nothing better to do with their lives but just troll and be idiots. And that's the kind of people that this world is all about. Is that. So, cabbage. Yeah, I love cabbage. It's really good. You should try it sometime because, you know what? Maybe you'll finally take a dump that looks just like you. Anyway, so for those of you who have been watching, I just want to thank you. And I want to tell you that when I got home, Jared was home. I was very tired. It was very hot. I got home and I was hoping that Jared wouldn't be here because on the way, halfway here, I noticed that he signed a restraining order against me. And so I was really nervous at that point and very scared and very hurt and upset by it. And so when I came around the driveway, saw the car there, I was a little upset about it. But then I saw him standing there with his back to me, and I asked very nicely if I could come in and get my things. And he came up to me and he wanted to hug me. I could tell he started crying. And I just looked down and I said, look, I'm just here to get my stuff. I don't want to cause any problems. And he said, you don't understand. I was just getting ready to leave to go get this restraining order taken off of you. He's like, I didn't want this. They forced me to sign it. And he said the only way that I could waive the restraining order was by getting a restraining order. He said this was against my will. They forced me to sign it. I told them over and over again. And my friend Ann actually had told me that, you know, after they had taken me away, that Jared was crying and he was very upset and he was refusing to sign it and saying that he did not want any part of it. But they were forcing him to do it. So that was really tough. And like I said, Jared's going to tell his story as well. And he says that he's going to do it tomorrow. So that is kind of how that happened. And it really changed Jared for the better. And at that point, you will see the videos that come next that have been recorded before with Jared and I and our story. And then as well as Jared's story tomorrow. So there are a few of you who are sincerely here to support me and encourage me and love me. And you have been amazing and you've been praying for me. And I want you to know that your prayers have gotten me through. And they really have. I mean, the Lord has done mighty, mighty things through this experience. And so much so that Jared, Tavin, and I went to church yesterday together as a family last night. And that was beautiful and wonderful and something that has blessed us as a family and something that we really needed together. And I'm really glad for what God has done. He has done amazing, wonderful things to this experience and changed my husband back to the man I fell in love with. And he has given me a new insight on my life and given me new perspective and giving me a purpose. I didn't know what my purpose was, for a long time. And I have finally found my purpose. And I'm praying that the Lord will open the door for this ministry that I would like to do. And I am praying that if anybody out there is watching and you have any ideas or ways that I can make this happen, I would greatly appreciate it. And because I really feel like this is something I really want to do to bless these women. They really deserve to feel good, to look good, and they also deserve to know that there are people on the outside that love them and are praying for them and thinking of them. So, Karen and Lindsay, if you are the two that are watching, besides the other two idiots that are insulting my son and me, I just want to thank you for sticking around and supporting me through this. And I love you very much. Thank you so much. And I just want to say that while the world is really ugly, as you can see, as some of these comments are going on, these are the kind of people that could never say these things to our face. I would challenge these people right here to come to my face and say it. I would. I'm far from ugly. If you think that you can insult me by calling me ugly, that's ridiculous because I'm not ugly. So yeah, you're really not too intelligent. So whatever, then bring it on. Bring it on. I say bring it on. Hey, you know what? There's a way that you can contact me. I would gladly give you my address. Be happy to have you come over and tell me those things to my face. Okay, I'm challenging those of you who are harassing me and claiming you're going to knock my jaw in and that you're going to come all over my face and that you're insulting my son. I want you to contact me privately, okay? I'll give you my address. You come here and I will gladly discuss it with you. I wouldn't mind going to jail for that, for what you've done to me. I just got done talking about going to jail. I'll go back for that. But you know what? You're going to say it to me first, and you'll say it in front of the police. Okay? So, I will be reporting you again, as usual. And I will be calling the police on you as well. So, goodbye. And God bless you for those of you who stuck by. Okay, I love all of you, even those of you who are complete assholes. Love you. Bye.